honestly, I get this thing all set up and I do the sound check and it works out right because I don't know how many times yesterday and the sound wasn't working or buttons weren't clicked and I just set it all up and I'm all ready to go. I did the sound check and then I start recording again and it says your mic is turned off. But hopefully it's on now, otherwise I'm wasting more time. I don't want to waste more. Anyway, so I'm getting frustrated because I'm thinking this testimony's not working out how I thought. Because I'm not explaining how I have to account for this time and account for this. And the whole reason that really I want to do this is because this is what's going to happen to people. This was my father in 1999. This is my mother. Carolyn, at this point, she had pancreatic cancer, but before this, she had a rare form of breast cancer. And the thing is, there's no history of cancer in her family. Regardless, that's a whole nother thing. But there's no doubt that the reason this guy's beaming is because, one, she's dying, and not that that's funny, but that's why look at that, he's all tan, he's got his new jacket. He's going out with, or has a thing set up with her best friend, Nancy. So, you don't think that this is going to come back and get you at some point? Not now, maybe not this life, but in the afterlife? Oh, geez, so this was Thanksgiving 98. She died in April 99, like April 3rd. So this is like stage 2, maybe even stage 1 pancreatic cancer. Oh my God, that's a horrible disease. Anyway, so, I gotta stop. Alright, regroup. But it's like, this is the way she was. That's the way she was. You think that's a happy person? Granted, that was a holiday and she's cooking and everything else, but, that's not just a permanent soaking into brain. That's being married to this that's got way weird things going on. So, and you don't think you've got to come clean before you leave this place? Oh, God help you. Here's my brother. This was a joke. I talk about doing captions and cartoons for CTL and employees. This is the type of thing I did. This was for a calendar I made of all the family. And, of course, Alan thinking about money, blah, blah, blah. But the thing is, it's true. This was in New York. This is at my aunt and uncle. That's a whole nother story. My mother she's a lonely child with one sister. She's got one sister out in New York, and they never talk to each other. And that was after my grandmother died, and that's a whole nother story. But this was when the family was in still whatever. They're still talking. I had just had my third knee surgery. You can't see it, but I went out there. This is right after they got married in 81. I had surgery. I ran out there. I went for the Russell Crowe look, the skinny Russell Crowe look. But the thing is, with her and her sister, after my grandmother died, it was all about money. Who got the piano and who got this? And Carolyn was in Elgin, my grandmother was in Elgin, and we should give Nana good fair props. Hold on. See, this is good. This shows that even though she's kind of looking unhappy here, that's the way she kind of was without Creepo around. And this is my grandmother, and it looks like the Queen of England, and it probably is. But I don't think she was not a lizard reptilian. I don't think. But no, joking aside, that was after she died, and they were really close. I mean, she had a stroke when I was a senior in high school, and I mean, I visited her every single day in the summer. And then when, you gotta give these people, Aunt Charlotte, her sister came out. Charlotte, oh, it was just, and the thing is, she had a stroke. She went from being this really, I mean, active, social, she's a 20s product. I mean, she was the bee's knees probably back in her day. And, but when the aunt came out, it was like, well, who's going to get and the thing is, she's lived. She got through it. I mean, the stroke, she couldn't talk, but she got through it, and she got another she had a house, and she had to get an apartment, and that was right down the street from us, about 3 or 4 miles. And they got along great, but my aunt, and I don't have any pictures of her, but it drove my aunt, and then my Nana died, and it's like, well, who did this and this? So then this would never happen again. I never talked to my cousin, Becky, and Grant. Well, Grant was kind of different, but, and Carolyn was cool. She's the only person I've ever known that says, yeah, Brian was the cool guy. Anyway. But yeah, so it's just like, there's no function at all going on. So he went on to become Russell Crowe. He was in Gladiator. So all this, okay, I'll give you that. That can account for this. But it doesn't account for this. So anyone that wants to say is, oh, I grow up and this and, no! Man, I mean, on an honest scale, this is nothing. I was still 2.5. I was below par, but not this. So aside all that, what else is going on? So going back to here, to Houston, where were these dips? Now I'm going to jump all over the place because, so here we are in Marathon. Let's go back. So here we are, north, despite Texas being different, north is still north in Texas that I know of. And first moved down there, we were in the Yorktown Street facility. We'll just do a little cruise here. Okay, so this is on my way to work. I go do. Oh, and I had a picture of my first day at work. I don't know if I have that anymore. But the day before my first day at work, I went to the poolside, ended up being out in the pool all day, and I turned it and got really sunburned, so I looked like a bloated pig on my first day employee picture badge. It's just, I'm pretty sure I lost that, but so this was the original building. And we have, 4th floor rings a bell, 3rd floor, 4th floor. So this was the thing. And then when I first got down there, they go, well, we have this budding prospect from Purdue. Let's build him for Jake's new protege, let's build him a building and call this the 31st floor, give him office 3145. That's probably around there. So then this would be Jake, Harry, John, and then who knows, and then me, so wherever I was. So it's Tracy, Brian, Rod, and then Frank, and then Bill. So that was our hallway. And this side, and then Jake had the corner. So going to that, and the cool thing about, or not the cool thing, but Houston is so weird in so many different ways. So we're in this 41-story building. The thing is, these are not at the time probably 200,000-300,000, but now probably mid 500s. I'd have to check, but the market there's gone around. So one day we're sitting here in the tower, and what happened? We get a phone call. Hey, you guys, you're in offshore construction, right? You guys have binoculars and stuff? Hey, well, guess what? We've got some people nude sunbathing. We think they're nude, but we're not sure. That's typical. That's corporate America. Then after this is before internet, so maybe you should get your zoning laws into order. But oh, hold on. Wow, I didn't think they had this. So I went back to make sure. So they have photos going back to the 50s. Look at this. Ah! Before air conditioning. Gee, I wonder. Let's This was 1944, 53. Hey, somebody go invent an air conditioner. All right. Hey, you guys in NASA, why don't you do something besides pretend to do a bunch of things? Okay, 53, so 78. Okay. They invented, I thought they'd have something in the 60s, but okay, they invented the air conditioner by this point, and so look. So that Marathon building, that's the old one, and then this is where the new one is, and I was trying to find one without the shadow. So that's 89. They have nothing in between. Oh, come on, you guys. See how these other ones had there we go. That's 2006. It's funny, you know. And the other thing this is like a small town. This was the parking garage. And I've got a couple of parking garage stories. This was an 8-story parking garage. So this was an 8-story parking facility for this. And I don't know if they serviced this other complex. Maybe they did. I don't think these were part of Marathon property, but so this 8th-floor parking garage, I had that stupid Volkswagen, and I forgot that the sunroof cable had broken too. So it was open, not 100%, but about 70%. And one time when I was going home, and everyone knows about the traffic sucking and everything, but we're stuck in traffic going along here, and that stupid sunroof is broken. I get about here, and there's a lawn sprinkler on, and I can't cut this. Sunroof won't close, so this sprinkler's just going, and it gets to me, and the guy either in front or behind saw me getting I was just getting douched by this water sprinkler. And then you could see the guy pounding his dashboard, laughing so hard as I'm just getting soaked. And I'm laughing. I don't care. I mean, one time I went home in a 3-piece suit. I got to the pool. I just jumped in. I was like, let's just be different. Chlorine likes suits. But, you know, so, yeah, the traffic, and then, you know, so you go down here, and then this was Westheimer, and I'll just go the route. So here's my first apartment. All right, let's just go. So it's only like 3 miles away, and there's my first apartment on Lazy Hollow, no less. And I always had this goofed up. I thought I looked north, but it was always this way. I was back here, and then some people I went to college with were over here. So this was kind of the second home. I thought I had some pictures of Kim. It was Kim, Diane, and oh my gosh, I should know, but I don't. Anyway, so that was the first apartment. This is a table I made. It was from Purdue's old basketball court. They're just tossing everything. And so, no, I'm sorry, not the basketball court, the racquetball courts. A little less prominent, I guess, but so it's made of racquetball court. There's my hard hat and drawings and bachelorhood, early 20s, and I couldn't find the jukebox. I don't think I have any pictures of the jukebox. I have one, but they're kind of like, you gotta pretend. This was my second apartment. So here's my second apartment, which was right down the street. And, so yeah, this is back then, just kind of, just always had the newspaper and stuff. But thing of the second apartment, so I got tired of this apartment because I woke up one day, the neighbor below, the guy towed cars for the city of Houston. And it turned out talk about the dark side. What he'd do is, when he got a call to go pick up a vehicle, he'd go raid the car. And so his apartment was full of all the loot that he took from cars. As it turned out, that when I first moved in, I know I'm bouncing, but because I have to back up to tell this story right. When I first moved in here, obviously it was empty. Oh, it's like this. I said, I'll take it as is. But so it was empty, and I didn't have any furniture because I was days away from buying that $400 Rockola. And I had a sleeping bag. This is a sleeping bag. And I slept on the floor, and I woke up, and I looked at the floor, and there are all these dead cockroaches around the corners. And then all of a sudden, I woke up again, and the floor was shimmering. And it was a double dream because it looked like it was shimmering with cockroaches. But because it was a double dream, I woke up and there were just cockroach carcasses around the corner. Well, it turns out the guy living below was such a pack rat. He'd steal furniture, and you walked into his apartment. Honestly, it looked like a 7-Eleven store. He had aisles. This was his apartment. You walk in, there's probably a 12-inch gap. Could say a foot, but I want to be exact. There's like there's a 9-inch gap that you could walk through, but all this would be junk in stacks. And you get over here, and the thing is, in the back of his apartment, he had a dresser. And it turns out that he told me this, that there was a raccoon living in that dresser that he had taken. And that's why every morning I woke up, this place was, I'd say a dozen. Wake up like just clockwork. You just go around smacking them with your fingers cold. You tell me that's normal. So you get up. Well, I was on the couch. Couch is right over here. And my bedroom's back here. Here's how smart I was. I rent a bed for probably $40, $50 a month. Never slept in it once. Not once. But anyway, sure, put up a good front. Anyway, so I get up in the morning, go in the kitchen, and just smack cockroaches bare hand. So I got tired of that and just go, all right. And I looked at what the tipping point was. I looked in the oven, the only thing I baked in there was frozen pizza. And the thing was so full of burned pizzas because every now and then I'd fall asleep and get a little carbo disc going. And my routine was Saturday night to get a Totino's Party Pizza and watch Saturday Night Live. Okay, living large as a bachelor. Anyway, and so I got up, I was disgusted. I didn't want to clean the oven. I figured, well, that's a $25 deposit. So that's how I ended up down the road in this place. And that was Meadowglen. And I'm pretty sure this is it. And I was in the front because... we got Jimmy here. We don't need to see Jimmy. We'll see in a minute. So there's the Volkswagen. This was actually, I bought this when I was down there because I wanted to upgrade. This was my first car, but it was my graduation present from my biggest fan. And this was, okay, so I graduated in May 82, and my parents come up for the graduation. It's like, okay, great, go through the ceremony, and hi, you survived, and everything else. And we're like ready to go out for dinner or something, and my mother's all excited, and she goes, your father got you a present. And I was like, oh, he's going to account for no. He's going to give me recognition for breathing? What more can a guy ask for? No, she goes, he got you a car. And immediately I'm thinking, oh my God, what? So he gives me a 78 Horizon. And what bigger FU can you give but a first generation Dodge Chrysler product? So he gives me this two-tone copper crap piece of road garbage for a graduation present. And the thing is, my mother is like, you don't know how he worked on that the last 3 weeks to get it ready. And the only thing I could think of was, what did it look like before he got it ready? Because this thing was a turd. This thing, and then what do I do to improve it? Oh, let's put in a sunroof. So I hacksaw and put in my own sunroof. And you talk about this thing leaked less with 70% of the window open than this thing with it closed. Granted, it was my homemade doing, but I put all blame on others for giving it to me. So this was the thing and it had no air conditioning. And he didn't know what I was doing with Marathon. And you know what? I might have even told them that I had that job in Marathon before. I'm not sure. It would be like me to have lied about, oh yeah, that job's firm. And because after surgery and stuff, I didn't work or get resumes out, so I came across as being assured of that job. But anyway, so I had this, it had no air conditioning. This is how many, you know how many cars were in Houston before a car had air conditioning? That many? So, this had no air conditioning, and not that I would have used air conditioning all the time, because I was just that way where, let me just toughen up a little bit, get my histamines going a little bit. I don't mind. But this, it was unbearable because, point proven, I buy this piece of schlock. And when I bought this, the reason, okay, this one ticked me off so much because it was right when they were getting the microchips and didn't know how to work. Well, I didn't know, that's the thing. I didn't know how to, man, right next door, I never knew. Man, I'm distracted by GM muscle. Wow. Anyway, there's, trying to think of what I've got. Look at this. There's a tire and, anyway. So this thing was unworkable, but even if it was workable, I wouldn't know how to... Changing the oil I could do, but Houston's so miserable you don't want to even change the oil outside. So I kind of tell everyone that I hate this thing, it's a terrible car, even though it's a present, and yeah, thank you, and everything else. But, so I go out, and for $2,000... of engineer, I'm making more money than probably half my classmates put together, and I buy this thing out of false pride going, at least I had a Volkswagen before and I know how to fix them. I didn't know how to fix them. I knew how to wreck them. I knew how to do body work. So I buy this thing, and sure enough, I buy it, and the guy was some foreign, you know, the last name had about 23 letters to it, and no sooner am I driving home from buying this thing, all beaming, and, hey, I'm going to show everyone I'm not, you know, I'm not anti-corporate, I'm just uncorporate. That's it, I'm uncorporate. So I buy this, and, this is what I did my first Volkswagen, with the Ford station wagon. Anyway, so I'm driving home. I get on Westheimer and the thing dies. Just cold dies. And I look at the gas gauge. It's got quarter tank gas. And I walk back to work and they go, where's your new car? And I said, well, it broke down. And as it turned out, that gas gauge was broken. And not only was it was broken at a quarter tank. And so I had run out of gas. So the whole time I had this stupid thing, it went from, and then it had no back seat. When I bought it, I didn't even know it didn't have a back seat. Mr. Future Evaluation Eagle Eye Engineer, it never had a back seat, which was fine, but then it had a passenger seat, but then the floorboard rotted out where I had to take out the passenger seat. So it had no back seat, no passenger seat. Bill and I put in some corrugated aluminum floor pans, but I never put the seat back in. I might have put it in as just, temporary, where if we had to go to a softball game and someone had to sit there, I'd just throw it in. But you talk about a road menace. And then the cable break. So I tell that story about Andrea in Chicago. I forgot someone had broken in when the car was parked in Chicago. So it had a broken out window, sunroof that was partially open, 70% open, no back seat, and potentially running out of gas all that. I gotta stop. Oh my God, I had to catch myself. Okay. This is how I observe it. I could have probably bought that one for about $1,800, and it was right there and everything else. But, okay, so that was the second apartment. That's this apartment. So what do? I move in. Oh, okay. So I got tired of the other place. I get up and I move and I go, well, it's a $25 damage deposit to clean the oven. They ended up making up some ridiculous excuse saying, well, we had to cut out, there was a stain in the carpet or something where they had to replace a section of carpet, and they charged me $75. So I moved into this apartment, and this was 89. So yeah, okay, for a few years before or after, 78. Wow, that's how new it is. That's the thing. I was in the second oil crunch the tail or the beginning of the second oil crunch. So when I left the oil industry, I showed them it tanked. Now, so this was built, Houston proper just exploded, and right before the bottom dropped out in oil, they were almost giving apartments away. So I signed on a year lease and got a month free rent. And they gave you free cable. See, that was the thing. That was the selling point they had to do, was free cable back then. Or 6-month lease, you get a year, you get a free month, but it wouldn't be 2 months. So I got this thing for like $375, $320, probably $375. Man, what a deal. So I go in, what do I do the first week? Word goes around that I'm going to have a party. I'm going to have a moving in party. So I start telling people, I'm going to have a beach party. Because I've got the jukebox. I talked about the jukebox. I'm going to have a beach party. And they go, really? What does that mean? And I go, well, I'm going to put a bunch of sand in, go to the beach. And I was just joking, because I wanted people to show up. An engineer's having a party. Who wants to go? Saturday Night Live's on. So it was like I called my own bluff, where it's like, no, I am going to put in a ton of sand. And so that was the theme I wrote. So what do? I called everyone's bluff. And there you go. Boom! There's your ton of sand. And so it's 1,200-pound bags of sand. And put down the visqueen and put a little backdrop on, a little mood, a little feng shui or whatever it's called. So then right here was where the jukebox was, so I had to move it, because why else would the guy have all these warped records and stuff? So the jukebox was here. I put in a ton of sand. I had shells. Then before I left, I told people I wanted to have an apartment party on the beach. And then I was going to get some old furniture and go down and find an abandoned portion of the abandoned beach. Find a beach where I could do a bonfire and then burn all the furniture. Go in with a bang, go out with a bang. But anyway, so what do? I have this big shebang. And it was fun, and the people below, there's this couple, probably in their 60s, from Louisiana, and I had a picture of them, and I know that got lost in the foreclosure. But I invited them, not because of being neighborly. I didn't want this floor to crash in on them during the party, because they live right below. But, no, apartments are designed for 40 PS live load, and I did the calcs, and this was very nominal. 70 pounds a cubic foot for sand, or 60, whatever it is, 90. And I figured it out, and it was like nowhere near live load, but man, during the bunny hop, whoa, this thing, and you could see the sand jumping up and down. In fact, when I moved out, and all this was mostly gone, there was a fraction that visqueen does well for foot traffic. It doesn't do well for a party, and it really doesn't do well for the bunny hop. So when I moved out, you could still walk around and you see the little sand jump up behind where you just put your foot. But anyway, so so the next morning, some friends from Dallas that I knew from Purdue, they had come down. It's like, well, we got to do something with all this sand. And like, well, I know. Well, let's just look out in the front of the building. So what do? Here's the balcony. Here's the balcony. I throw everything into the bushes. And it's like, well, no one will notice. But there's some privet. There's like some hedges here. Like, well, actually, I guess not really. I thought it blended in okay. That morning it seemed like at least it blended in okay with the landscape. So I just went, okay, I got an easy
easy evacuation. Let's just put it over here. Oh, it just would, and think, well, it didn't go down. I wish I knew their names. But this is where that couple lived. So when they showed up at the party, I was glad they were there because, like, okay, if anything happens, I know that they're up here and we didn't crush them. But then they left. It was like, hey, before you leave, why don't you take one for the road? It's like, at least they won't know what hit them if something happens. But anyway, so I put everything into the parking lot or into the bushes. And what does it do? Houston, the rainstorms down there are unbelievable. So the first week I move in during the week. I had this big party and stuff, and the rental office is over here. There's a pool, and then rental office is right here. So I'm kind of like, hey, let's just, keep an eye on that new guy that moved in. They get all these storms in the summer, and sure enough, all that sand migrates out into the parking lot and accumulates right in the middle of this area, because I don't think you can see the storm drain. No kidding. The contour of the parking lot is like this. Oh, good asphalt company. But that's the contour of these parking lots, and that's around storm drains. Because of this, when they get the gully wash, it all just needs to really go in there. But the thing is, that's how I'd start that Volkswagen when the alternator gave out. I couldn't get this thing going. The alternator burned out, and so I had to actually use the saving grace of it. But before that, all this sand came out in this parking lot and circled around and then clogged that drain. It was so bad. But then I fault building maintenance because there were probably leaves that covered it too. So it wasn't my fault. But by Tuesday, the rental office goes, hey, wait a minute, where did all that sand come from? Hey, landscaping crew, did you guys do anything? No, we didn't do it. No, sir, no. And it was like this. So they called me in. They go, well, we hear you had did you have fun? I go, yeah. And they go, well, we're a little concerned because we just want to know if you're going to do that a lot. And I'm like, now, it'll probably be a one and done, but I don't know. Next year. Oh my gosh. So the following year is like, no, that was just a rare thing, and I didn't realize, and I'm sorry, and I'll do whatever you want. No, we'll take care of it. And it's like, hola, como está? Just the guys that helped bail me out. Thank you. But it was fine. But see, next year, I was smart. I got this was John, I don't know, I think Jody's brother or something. And so we de-hauled everything out the following year. And then they said, well, you know what? You might look for another plate. No, they didn't kick me out. I moved one more time, but that was for a different reason. But so yeah, I moved in, and it's like, no, I don't think I'm going to do that every week. Maybe like every 3 months, like semi-annual. Anyway, so yeah, 1,200-pound bags of sand, man. And the thing is, at Marathon, I got to be known as the guy that had the beach party, which I guess if you're looking for recreational reputation, that I had some street cred. But from the executive standpoint, it's probably not your, material that you want to pad the resume with. But anyway, see, now I know you look. So, whereas with the Volkswagen, so this thing, the alternator ended up giving out. Oh, those toes out. And one time, this is how bad my toe was. My left toe. I bought ski boots in high school, and I was too cheap to get good ones. And so I kept skiing in these ski boots that didn't fit. This boot, my left boot was so tight that I have a permanent ingrown toenail from it. To this day, the toenail is just like, no, I'm not going to let you forget that time where you weren't nice enough to me. I'm just going to curl in unless you take better care of me. And this guy's like, oh, I don't want to cause all that grief. And this one goes, well, I'll show him. You don't do anything. I'll show him, and you don't worry about it. So this guy, to this day, always gives me, nope, I'm going to grow in, not out, because of what you did back in the 80s. I mean, everything comes back to haunt you, man. That's the theme. Stay in school, don't do drugs, and cut your toenail. Be nice to your toenail before it. Oh, all right, one more, and I've got to see if this thing's recordable. Maybe that's a good thing if it isn't. But, so yeah, to start this thing every morning, I had to push it into one of these things, time it just right. So, having it in second gear already, it was rolling down, gaining speed, and by the time I got here, I had to jump in, pop the clutch, get over this, and I'd be good to go. And I mastered that. I don't brag about a lot of things, but I had that thing down so much. So Mr. 7 o'clock could get there at 10 to 7 every day like clockwork. That's what a clock does. It gets. And I had the thing is, I did it so much that the floorboard on that side had this, it looked like this. From me jumping on, it was like this. This is the floorboard. This is where I have to put my foot to jump in. So my floorboard got almost broken off. Volkswagen, that's kind of a cool feature, but I didn't know it was to push start your vehicle for when it reaches its service life after, this was a 76, so this was 76, and this was 1984-ish. 84, 85, it got bad. So it's not even at 10 years of its design life, and it's doing this. It's like, come on, Mr. Volkswagen. Maybe he did. The engineers knew, hey, the alternator kind of craps out after a while, and hey, let's just put in a floorboard. And then that way, if they have to push it, if they ever move down to Houston, they have to jump start it, they can find a drain. That Volkswagen was designed for Houston oil boom employees. That's it. So yeah, and then the oil. Oh, and this is not exaggerating. I kind of wanted the car to show how uncorporate I was, but this thing uncorporated with a vengeance, because it did everything I wanted it to do, and just, okay, well, I'll just keep doing what you wanted to do because you planned out, you wanted these things. I'm going to give you secrets that you don't know can break down. Like, it started leaking so much oil that, honest to God, because I couldn't turn it off because of this, I had to find it. That's why that 8-story garage came in. I could make it up, no problem. And then I could coast down at the end of the day. Boom, case solved. I have this little dilemma in the morning, 8-story parking garage in the afternoon. Boom, done and done. But then if I had to go to the grocery store, well, the grocery store was walking distance from here. But if I had to do anything else, oh, geez. So it came easier to leave the car running, but then you leave it running, and it leaked oil so much. It was like a bad sphincter on this bug. Every time I went to I'm trying to think, any type of In-N-Out store, when I backed out, there'd be a pool of oil. And so it got to this so bad and I didn't do anything about it. I'd park where there was a visible stain, so then I could go into immediate denial, goes, well, that was there before I parked, and so that's not my car at least. I drove this thing up into Chicago, and it lived in Chicago for at least 6 months. Oh, how, you talk about God looking over you. Good night. Anyway, so the point was, hey, there you go, old tennis. steel tennis racket, Mr. T2000. Anyway, so yeah, here's the $70 a month couch and my $40 a month bed that I probably paid $9,000 in monthly fees for instead of buying outright. Don't give youth money. Anyway, I'll tell what happened to the jukebox. It's not a great story, but it had this inevitable. It's a '63 Rockola, so it moves in Houston 3 times. Well, point A to point B to point C. That's twice in Houston. I moved to Chicago. It went into storage in Ohio with some friends, and then I moved it from Ohio to a friend out in Streamwood or Hanover Park. And then there it just kind of died because it wasn't working right, and gears were going, and it was just silly. But I had a bunch of 45s for a long time. It was fun anyway. It was fun. But, you know what? I'm going to see if things are... I'll be back.